Barcelona.
Huh.
Yeah, I just want to make, I want to go there and just, make some peace there because they're just fighting for stupid things. No, I'm going for Depeche Mode concert. I'm deaf. I have no accent, so.
You're not too bad.
Really? You think my accent is good, right? Hello, I'm Michael.
I'm Radek,
And this is the podcast.
a sounding board for interesting ideas and insights. We discuss books we read and want to share with you.
As well as technology and productivity, which is what we do by day, working on our app, Nozbe.
Or whatever else comes to mind.
Yeah, and today we'll talk about languages.
Yeah, let's talk about languages, about learning foreign languages, and how we learned, how I learned English and how you learned three other foreign languages.
More, because I'll talk about other experiences now. So just for the reference, we're both born in Poland, so we're Polish, and our mother tongue is Polish. And apparently, we don't speak Polish on this podcast.
No, we don't. And at this point, English really feels like, just I feel completely fluent in English. Like I often miss words and forget how to say things, but I'm no better in my native language. So I guess that's just the way it is. And this actually sparks from an email we got from a listener who was asking about this, how we developed our English skills to the point where we are at now, and also he asked about developing an accent in a language. So we have a lot to talk about. So this will probably be 2 episodes. But yeah, let's start from the beginning. How did you, Michael, start learning English?
Okay, so it was way before you were born. Okay, so when I was young, my mom forced me to learn English. Forced me in a nice way. I mean, she just told me that I should be learning other languages and I should be learning English. She knew some English, and she started, she was an architect, so she was very good at drawings. So she started drawing objects and, telling me, this is a boy, this is a girl, like the whole thing. I think I was 5 or 6, somewhere around that, 5 or 6 years old. And it started there. My mom was my first teacher, my first English teacher. Then my aunt was my second English teacher. And then I would always have additional English classes apart from the ones at school. And it grew from there. And then later I went to the secondary school with English as the language of instruction. So the English was the main language there. And I had a very, very strict English teacher. Like she wouldn't take no for an answer. She thought that we are there supposed to just learn English, nothing else. So she didn't care that we had maths, physics, or whatever. Like English was the most important thing ever. And thanks to her, I developed kind of a problem with stress and things because I was really stressed at her classes. But anyway, she had a very effective way of teaching us English. And so throughout school, high school, it was also there. And because it was an English speaking high school kind of in Poland, we would watch English movies. We would do things together with friends and develop English even more, also privately. So it all started from there. And of course, then I started, watching movies, reading things, but especially movies without subtitles. So
that helps
with that, it was really easy. And, English was like my second language already in high school. Like I already in high school spoke very good English. So I could use both. Take notes either in English or in Polish, whatever. So now it's really confusing because if you look at my notes, like sometimes they're also in Spanish, which is even more confusing. But I just don't like. It just depends in the mood that I'm at that I use English. But anyway, as you can see, English was part of me from the very beginning. Like my mom, I'm really thankful to my mom that she was the driving force to teach me English and to force me kindly to learn English, and develop the curiosity for languages. Because later I in primary school I started learning German with my parents, so it's like it grew from there. And we used to travel. So I already, when I was traveling, it was right after the fall of communism. We started traveling to Germany and to other places, and I realized how powerful speaking English is, speaking other language than Polish is. So for me, it was really a no-brainer. My parents gave me just fantastic example, and so it all started with them.
Yeah, and then like pretty much throughout the whole 12 years of school, you had English as the secondary language, right?
I mean, in primary school, it was more complicated because in primary school I had Russian, and then in secondary school I had English and German. So and sorry, in primary school I had Russian, and then later English as well. So that was the thing. But in primary school I wouldn't, at school I wouldn't learn the language. I mean, I was bored to death on the English classes, and on Russian classes I was pretending I was understanding anything. But on the English classes I was bored. So it was after school where I was actually learning, during the primary school time. In the secondary school, it was different. In high school, it was like we had 6 hours of English per week. And as I told you, we had really strict teachers. So, and then we had also other things in English. We had maths in English. We had chemistry in English, and sometimes physics, sometimes not. But, we had, and geography, we had geography also in English. So we had lots of things in English. So, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, in Poland, the vast majority of kids, especially these days, have English throughout pretty much the whole 12 years. When I was in primary school, I think English started in the second semester of third grade, and obviously I had exposure to English before. My parents didn't kind of force me as much as yours did to learn English, but I do seem to recall some sort of like kind of little kind of kids magazines and whatnot with like some basics English to learn. And I think these days kids that are in primary school now, most of them have some super extra basic English, but just some form of English pretty much since first grade. So that's good. And also I believe in any larger Polish city you have pretty much, most decent high schools have this one class which has some classes, some subjects partially in English, which is also interesting. I wasn't part of that, but yeah, it's relatively common these days. So that's good.
But when I was in high school, it was kind of the thing that the objective for my mom was for me to get to this high school. And this particular high school was then the only one, or one of the 2 or 3 in Poland that had English as a language of instruction. So my mom wanted me to get there. That's why she was pushing me to learn English more, and she was paying for additional classes. Actually, on the last year of primary school, I was traveling like an hour to the English class, because I was traveling to a different city to a professor that most of students from her went to the school. I mean, they passed the extra English exams, and she was really good. So it was worth for me to go, for a 1 hour class, I was commuting 1 hour there and 1 hour back. So it took me 3 hours of my life to get, to have one class with her. It was twice a week. So, which actually was pretty useful, because on the train I was doing the homework. So I took the time. I was using time effectively. But it was so the objective was to get to this high school. And that's why my mom was pushing so much, and I really appreciate it, because the high school was really good, and the level of English over there was really competitive. I mean, when I thought I spoke some good English, but when I got there, I realized that there are people who speak way better than me. So it was and actually in our company we have 2 graduates from this high school as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, the world is small.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, again, I had some very basic experiences early in childhood. And third grade, we started having English classes, and in secondary school, we also had German, and I've learned no German over 3 years, pretty much.
Yeah, that's sad. That's
Yeah.
really sad.
And then in high school, we had 3 years of Russian, and again, I've learned pretty much no Russian. But I had like 9 or 10 years in school of English, so there's that. But the biggest leap. So that was enough to just give me a basic understanding of English. Just enough to kind of get around and understand basic things like most high school kids in Poland can. The biggest leap I've made was in ninth grade, I think, or 8th grade, where when I decided that my English skill is not good enough, that it's there's something, but if I try to, for example, just read something on Wikipedia because I wanted to get some information, I couldn't. Like I couldn't fluently read Wikipedia because the level of English there was just too high for me, and I wouldn't understand half of the words, and it was just too frustrating because I would have to look it up too often. And I just decided that it's too important and I need to learn that. So what I did is over the next 6 months, I would learn something like 2,000 words and phrases on top of like basics that I already knew, and in those 6 months, like that was like massive progress, enough that now I could pretty comfortably read just about anything. I could read Wikipedia, I could read any sort of blog, not just highly technical writing that I could understand already, because it would use like a subset of English mostly to explain technical things, and I could start reading books, and from there, it just grew organically, like for most people. Like that was enough that I didn't need to do any kind of explicit learning. It's just from time to time, or often at the beginning, and then more and more rarely, there would be a word or a phrase I wouldn't understand, and I would look it up, and then I would know, right? And then I would start watching TV series and movies with English subtitles, and then more recently without subtitles, and I started listening to podcasts. So there's 4 aspects of knowing a language. There's reading, writing, listening, and speaking, right? So my level of reading skill was pretty good, but if I would be listening to something, I would have more trouble. So I started listening to podcasts, and then eventually audiobooks, and then I stopped having any problems with that, right? And I would write some of my own stuff on my blog. And now we're recording the podcast for the last 2.5 almost years.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, which really just made a huge difference in my spoken English skill.
Yeah, let me stop you here, because many people don't understand that one of the reasons for us to do the podcast was to constantly be speaking English.
Yeah.
For me, it was more of an exercise to speak slower, to learn to articulate better.
That's true.
Because I speak very fast, and I speak Polish very fast, so that Polish people don't understand me. And I speak other languages also as fast. And that's why if I want to be, I don't want to be a public speaker, but I am sometimes speaking publicly. And to be able to do that, to be able to perform at an okay level, I should be speaking slower. And really, for me, I have to consciously think about it. Consciously think about speaking slowly, to speak slowly. That's why we're recording the podcast, to practice. So one of the motivations for both of us was to learn to speak English better, and to just have a reason to speak English every week. That's why we started. And 2.5 years already.
Yeah, I almost forgot it. It's been that long. So it's worth explaining in detail, like the technique of learning. Like that's a very interesting topic for me in general. The meta level of learning anything. Like I can see that I'm much better at learning things now than before, and it's not because I'm much smarter, or it's not just because I know more things already, but it just I have a better understanding. I've learned how to learn better. When I say I made a huge leap in the 8th or 9th grade and learned 2,000 phrases, the way I did that was using spaced repetition learning. So we actually discussed this already on the show, but it was a long time ago. We've already mentioned learning languages once, but we wanted to do it again, do it right. So I used this app called Full Recall. Now, this is a I don't know if this even exists. It was this really ugly, not very good looking at all app, but it did some magic in terms of how efficiently I could learn things. So it was a smart flashcards app, and what it did is you inserted things into your library, into your kind of Full Recall database as question answer, right? So for example, you could have an English word as the question and the Polish translation as an answer, or the other way around, or whatever you want, right? And then the thing is that when you would practice with the app, it would show you some question, some word, for example, and you'd think of the answer, right? You try to recall what the answer to that question is. And then you press show, it would show the answer, and then you would rate your own recollection, like how well you remember this word, on a scale of 0 to 5, where 0 means I did not remember it at all, and 5 meaning I remember it perfectly. And what it would do is it would use that your rating of your own recollection as an input for intelligent spaced repetition. So it would intelligently schedule the next rehearsal of that word based on how well you remember it.
But did you have to put the words yourself, or there was a pre-installed database, or you had to just find the words, or how I didn't get that part.
Okay, so there was a database that came with the app, but I didn't really like it because it had...
No wonder.
Yeah, I know. You know me. It had too many basic stuff and not enough of the stuff I actually wanted to learn. So what I would do is I would practice every day. I would go through the words with the scheduled repetitions, and then I would add new words. And I don't remember exactly what was the source of those words.
Yeah, exactly.
Did I find some list, or were there phrases that I just encountered during the day, during the week that I wanted to add? I really don't remember. Don't remember that. But I wanted to explain about the intelligent scheduling thing, because this is key. This is based on an understanding of how human memory works. And the way it works is it generally takes a few repetitions, your neurons that store this information firing again and again until it solidifies and you actually remember it. And at the very, very beginning, you have to repeat it, very soon after you first, hear a new word, or you'll forget it, right?
Yep.
And then you have the next repetition after a bit more time, and then after a bit more time, and then, more and more until eventually you just don't need it at all. So after you insert something, then even if you do your first rehearsal and you say you remember perfectly, it will still schedule it in the near future and it will schedule it in larger and larger intervals, but it will use your own score of recollection to adjust it, because some words you just have a they remind you of something you already know, and then you remember them instantly, and some other words you have more trouble with. So this is awesome.
I really like that part because not everyone learns the same way, and not every brain works the same way. It's like, especially when you speak more languages, then some words are just like they make more sense because you just map them from the other language, for example.
Exactly.
But some are just totally different, and then you just have to learn them and learn them again and again. So yeah, I really like that it's so tailored to just every particular student. So it's not like predefined repetition, but it's done by you.
Yeah, I had many of those same thoughts when now learning Spanish with Duolingo, and we'll get back to that. But like, to me, this is why software is great. Like software, computer aided language learning is so obviously superior to any pure analog way. Like there are
to any book or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a book can't do that. Mm-hmm. A teacher in a class can't do that. If you have a private teacher, that enables you to do much more, because if you're one-on-one with an English teacher, then he or she can really tailor to what you have most trouble with. But even a teacher doesn't always know what's in your head and what you remember well and what you don't. And most people don't have the privilege of having a private teacher, right? Because it's just expensive.
Yeah.
And like to me, like, this is why learning at school is highly ineffective without a use of computer aided learning, because you can't tailor to everybody's unique needs. And for some people, the pace will be too fast, and for others it will be too slow, but for no one it will be just perfect. And when you have a tool like full recall, and I'm sure there are similar things now which are much better and much less ugly than that now, but when you have something like this, when you have spaced repetition software, you can really optimize for what exactly you need to learn. And you just can't do that with a book. You can't do intelligent rehearsals with a book, because you'd have to go through the list of all of, a printed list of all of the words you've learned, and somehow, skip those that you remember. Like, it's impossible. You can't do that. And, sometimes you have some words that you're like, oh, how was X in English or Spanish? And then you look it up in the dictionary and you do your own kind of spaced repetition, right? But you won't do repetitions with words that you don't remember at all, that you don't remember, right?
Yeah. And so just before we continue, I want to just tell everyone else listening to this, we are getting to the best time ever to learn a language, and that there are really no excuses to learn language. What for you, when I listen to you now, what you did there, I'm still curious about the first impetus for the motivation, really, that because it was lots of work to find the app, to get through it, to go through it every day, or I don't know how what were your intervals, but
yeah.
Anyway, amazing feat. And now it's so much easier because we'll have our teachers in our pockets, which we'll talk about in a second. But I'm really impressed. And if you can tell me a little bit more about your motivation and how it was in the very beginning, how it went down, because it seems like, all of a sudden you decided, you just woke up and said, yeah, I have to learn this language thing, this English thing right now. And you just went with it. Yeah,
I did. I guess it's part of a larger, longer story. So maybe some other time with more context, more details. But it was one of my first the first kind of serious self-improvement project of that sort. And it was just something that I consciously noticed and decided that I need that knowing English, really knowing English, and not just on a mediocre level that they teach you at school, is necessary. It just opens so many doors. it will allow me to do so much that I just cannot do right now. And that was enough. That was motivation enough. And actually, I now remember that I came across this app on some web. There was a blog. I don't remember its name, but there was a blog which was a large source of inspiration for things related to productivity and kind of, I don't know, I guess self-improvement in the broadest possible sense. And there was a blog post there saying, hey, there's this app, and like, you know, it was the sort of blog that now I would scoff at, because that was one of the blogs where the title of the blog post was probably, you know, 5 ways how I learned this much English in 3 months, right? But there was a recommendation of this app. I forgot about that part. Yeah, it was from that blog, and then I tried it, and then I saw that, yeah, I need that. And then I went with it, and yeah, it was a big feat. But I was learning every day for about 6 months until, you know, after 6 months I've just given up, and not because I was too tired, is because I went through my library and I didn't need it anymore. And I every day I practiced for 30 minutes, less than an hour a day. If I have some statistics somewhere on my computer.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I was tracking that in the very first version of my magic spreadsheet.
Man, you never cease to amaze me.
There were the times.
Yeah, but this is why we have so much in common. This sheer thing of finding out I need this.
Yeah.
Finding out a way to solve this and just plowing through it. It's something we both have, and like it just reminds me. I'm sorry for going sideways a little bit, but it reminds me of this moment when I was learning touch typing.
Yeah.
I've been doing typing on the computer for years. I was 20, 23. I don't remember. I was really like 10 years, 15 years into just computing already, right? And at one moment, I just saw my friend touch typing. And then I just saw that it's not a little bit faster than me. He's just blowing me out of the water. And I was like, damn, I need this. And I downloaded an app on Windows. I had Windows machine back then. And I just went with it. And the first days were humiliating, because you would like learn how to type really like an 8-year-old or 6-year-old. But then after a few days, it went faster and faster. And I think it took me like 2 or 3 months to actually, get to a very good level of touch typing. And I haven't moved since. So like my level is okay. I know that if I practiced more, I could be a lot faster, even more, but I don't really need it right now. But it was the thing. You wake up, you decide you need this, and you plow through it. And when I tell this to people, you should get this app to learn how to touch type. Really? No, it's just too much work. No, this is like I get this attitude from people. I'm like, really? But it's just a few, weeks or months, and then you're gonna be just so much better for the rest of your life. It's a skill that you will never undo or unlearn, And I think this is the key. Your English, if you don't practice English, your English can go down, but you will never unlearn English. It will be there. So once you need it again, you will have it. So just like with touch typing, I type pretty fast. If I need it more, I can train a little bit more, and I could be a serious typist if I really want to, but I don't. But that's the thing. But I remember just this reaction of people like saying, no, it's just too much work, whatever. So I think this is the difference between us and some other people and their attitudes.
Yeah, and for me, I already knew that if I have a genuine interest in something, if I care, then I can learn pretty fast, and I don't need any external motivation. Because at that point I was doing in middle school and throughout middle school I was programming just for fun, learning. And so while at school, I would do very little progress learning anything, and because I didn't care, and it was just so tiring. When I decided that I wanted this, and it wasn't someone forcing me to spend this much time learning English, but it was me like genuinely wanting to do it for my own sake, then I ran with it. Now, I actually just looked up the numbers because of course I did. And over 7 months, I spent 200 hours learning English, studying English on my own. So that comes down to about 1 hour a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
you have stats for that. Man,
yeah.
I love you. This is so cool.
It will probably amuse you that it's significantly more than I tracked that I spent studying for school.
Yep. Mm. Yeah, but well, look what it got you, so.
Yeah, it's true. And at the peak, my library, of course I tracked that as well, my library had 2,471 items.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, very good. So when we met, you already were already past that, right?
Yeah. That was way past that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised, because I remember when we met and when we connected first, and you were 16, I think, and I saw your website in English. I was surprised. I was like, "Whoa, who wrote you that?" Because because it was really good. It was really well done, and I was like,
Yeah. The copywriting for the Tadam app. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The copywriting pretty much didn't change since 2012 when I wrote that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me, Michael, how did you learn German and Spanish and Japanese and Valencian and whatever else do you have that I didn't even know about?
Let's start. The German is a little bit complicated, because the German is a mixture of many things. Like the German was initiated because we went to the mountains and in Poland and Tatra Mountains, and over there we met Germans in the same hotel where we stayed, and my father could speak some German, my mom nothing. I couldn't speak nothing. I was 9, but it didn't. There was no problem with me, playing with the German boys. I mean. We were just 9-year-old boys, so we would play without actually speaking to each other. So it was fun. But my parents got motivated to learn German because we made friends with this German family, and they decided to learn something. And it was a good one, because my parents signed up for a course for adults in my school. Well, it was again it was a course after school, in the evenings. And the teacher was brilliant. She was brilliant because she knew it's a course for the adults. Mm-hmm. She should make it spicy. She should make people speak, right? Mm-hmm. Not just learn, the grammar, the words, and traditional way. She forced people to speak. She forced my parents to speak. Like tell me this. Oh, I don't know how. Well, try. Look it up. Try. Tell me. And then every time she would really push us to speak. And it was, I think, 2 years. The course was 2 years, and I've learned a lot. I liked German. When you ask anyone in Poland, they're like, German is so bad. But mm-hmm. I really grew to like German because of her, because the way she approached German, because the way she approached everything. After 2 years with her, and the course was canceled for some reason, but I could really speak German. I could, not really fluently, but I could communicate. I could ask for directions. I could ask for things. I could really have a conversation. Not a very meaningful one, but a conversation anyway. Mm-hmm. So it was amazing. My parents as well. Like my mom and my dad, they could speak. We could travel to our friends in Germany and spend a week with them, with actually talking to each other, not just staring at each other's faces. So it was really brilliant. I mean, she was really good. And after that, I didn't have any more German officially. So I just stopped. But then when I was 14 or 13, I think, my parents, because we made friends with this German family, my parents organized that my German uncle, mm-hmm. he went to Poland to pick me up for a whole month to spend with the German family. So, and they have a son who's 1 year older than me. So we had lots in common, and we would spend like day in, day out together. We would watch German movies together. And of course, there were no Polish subtitles because I was in Germany watching German movies. So there was no subtitles. So we were watching movies together. I think we were watching some really like movies for more adults than children. So like, it was even more motivation to watch the movies anyway. So I remember we were watching like some really cool movies, and then we were doing things together. We were building things together. We were spending time together all the time. I had no other option. And of course, with my friend's parents, I would speak German as well. And then to nail it, he would play before we would go to sleep. He would play me German jokes on tape, right? And it was so funny because on the first day when he played me the German jokes, he was laughing. He was totally laughing like crazy, and I didn't understand anything. I had no clue what they were joking about. I mean, it was funny for me because I couldn't understand anything. On my last, we would play these jokes like every day or every 2 days, or like he would just repeatedly play me the jokes because he just liked them so much. So at the end of my stay, it was a 1 month stay, I could translate you all the jokes to Polish. I don't know how it happened, but after like listening to it so many times and asking him, what it means, what this meant or whatever, I could translate you the jokes if you wanted it. So it was the mixture of being in a German environment, spending time with a German peer, and then watching movies together without subtitles, so there was no help, and then listening to the German jokes. So it was like after that, there was one moment. This is one moment in time when my German probably at this moment was a little bit better than my English for the first and only time ever.
Right.
But it was amazing. My German was really good then, and my English wasn't that good as yet. So because it was right before my high school, so a great time. And then from there, I could speak. I mean, I was already fluent in German, and then I would learn German in high school, which I didn't pay attention to that much. And then I would study a little bit more. But I would. We had German television, so I would watch German television. So we would travel to Germany. The Germans would travel to see us. So I had contact with German all the time. So and that's why one of my dreams, which came true, was to study in Germany at some point. And this happened later when I was in university.
All right. Wow. And how is your German now? Because like I do believe you still have some German friends and whatnot, but during university you were studying in Germany for a year or something.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly. But I know that you say that your Spanish is at a similar level to your English. What about your German? Did the skill deteriorate over time, or is it still pretty sharp?
It did. I think it did because luckily we have here German neighbors. Mm-hmm. So with them I speak German, and when I speak German with them, I get amazed that after a while I start really speaking well. Like I need some time, to just, to I don't know, to heat up, and then I start, like the words come back, right? So I start using really sophisticated words, really good words, like something I would use in my university time. So this comes back. So it's good. On the other hand, when I watch a German movie, or I watch Formula One right now, German television, because it's free, it's there. So I just watch it there. I have no problem understanding anything. I understand everything.
Okay,
so my comprehension is at the same level. My speaking ability is not at the same level because I don't speak as much. I don't use the German as much. But the comprehension is there. So I'm happy that I have these German neighbors here. So every now and then we do speak. We do spend time together and we talk. So it's good.
That's interesting because I've known you for more than 5 years, and I don't remember I've ever hearing you speak German actually.
Yeah, actually, we were talking about this with Ivona, our head of customer support, and she lives in Germany. Ivona, she's our German. She's our German. Ordnung girl. So it's like she's the one, you know, she wants to have everything in order, and she's Polish, but she behaves like this, you know, like this typical German person that, you know, wants to have everything in order. And she's brilliant. And we talked about it on this reunion right now, that maybe with Ivona, when we talk, we should be speaking German, because then I can practice.
Yeah.
You know. Just like with you, I speak English and Spanish now. With her, I could speak German just to practice. So yeah, you haven't heard me speak German because we've never been to Germany together. When we travel to London or California. So but I that's why maybe you haven't heard it. But but still the skill is there, and I still like the language, and I have really friends there. So.
Right, we're kind of running short on time for the first part. I knew it would be 2 episodes.
There had to be. I mean, but so to wrap it up, I mean, because this ties a bit to what I wanted to say about the English thing. So very many people who have like the basic level of English, they tell me that, you know, they can watch a movie with subtitles and it's fine and whatever. I'm like, don't put on subtitles. This is the crazy thing about subtitles, that people want to comprehend what's there. I understand that. I appreciate that. But if you force yourself out of the comfort zone and you watch the English series or the English television, the American series right now on Netflix, or like especially now Netflix in Poland is there, so you can watch anything without subtitles. So watch it without subtitles. It's gonna be uncomfortable the first few episodes. But come on, you're not going to miss much. If you have the basic level of English, you're going to understand so much more. I mean, it's just pushing. It's this thing of learning by seeing what's happening, by and connecting the dots with the basic thing that you already have. So like really, lots of people ask me about it, and then I always tell them, ask them about the subtitles, and they always say, yeah, we have subtitles, because when you have subtitles, your eyes will roll, will start reading. I mean, it's nobody can stop it. I know when I'm watching a movie with subtitles, I start reading, even if it's in English.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't make any sense to put subtitles on.
You know, you're completely right. The thing is that even very recently, even last year, and sometimes still, I watch things with English subtitles, because like, even though, you know, I can listen to a podcast or an audiobook, and I never have a problem understanding anything. But when watching a movie or a TV series, they often speak kind of less clearly, more casually, and I sometimes have trouble understanding them. And so I'm like, okay, I'll just put on subtitles. But I mean, that's just you're right. That is a stupid thing to do, because if I do that, if there's subtitles, I will read, and I will never go through that obstacle. I will never kind of learn to understand English spoken like this, you know, without that much clarity. And so, you know, this year I think I stopped most of the time putting on subtitles, and it was very uncomfortable at first, even to me now. But very quickly it passed, because very quickly I just became more attuned to how people speak. And yeah.
I'm surprised that you would use subtitles. I'm
really
kind of.
Yeah, but it was surprising to me as well, that I would never have any trouble with audiobooks or anything. But I'd be watching a TV series, and I'm just like, what? Like, what did he say? Like, I don't understand the word he just said. And it's usually some simple word, but just spoken in a way that I can't get that.
Yeah, but that happens to me too, that sometimes I don't understand something, but it doesn't, it's usually not a problem to understand the whole thing, what just happened, you know?
Yeah, I know, but it happened quite a lot. And now not very often, so.
But yeah, but if you don't turn off subtitles, you will not
exactly
to comprehend that, you know. So that's why you should just turn it off, go cold turkey, and just watch it.
Yeah,
with people
exactly, because it's a tiny kind of sub skill on its own. Because again, it's because it's English spoken not very clearly, right? And so if you don't practice that skill, you won't learn it, right? It doesn't matter if I listen to tons of audiobooks where
there's a good narrator who speaks very clearly and very nicely,
exactly,
very slowly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is what also I did with English. When I was learning English, I would watch a movie several times. Mm-hmm. So it's another tip for somebody who's still afraid to turn off subtitles. If you watch one movie and you want to watch it again because you liked it so much, this happens. I have watched. I'm guilty as charged. I have watched many movies many times because I enjoy them much. So then the second time around, turn off subtitles. Second time around, because then you already know what happened. So there is no problem with clarity or fear of missing out. You know what happened. So you just turn off subtitles, and this way you'll be amazed how much you can comprehend.
One last question. In your notes, I see something about the Alexander book. What is this about?
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. So again, something which you learned in a way. So there was a very old book, a very old English book, Alexander something. I don't remember the name of the book, but it was like an old school book, like used in the 80s or something to learn English. And it was all in English, and it was all short stories or dialogues, right? And this teacher, the teacher that I mentioned to you the last year before high school, when I was really studying for this exam, when I would commute 1 hour here and back, her style was not to teach us anything. Meaning, we would have homework to learn by heart a short story, and to learn by heart a dialogue, and to learn by heart some responses to some questions. And the whole English language class was going through the homework with almost everyone. Like, not with everyone, but Michael, you and Simon, like, do the dialogue right now, and you and tell me the story. And she would just ask us things from the homework, and it was mostly the class. She would maybe add something, but I just remember that she would just ask us to do the homework in front of everyone else. So it was for me, it was stupid when I initially when I saw that, but actually it made sense, because it was this repetition thing. Because first of all, you had to learn it by heart, so you had to memorize the short story, the dialogue. You had to memorize them. Then later you had to perform them. And then when you saw others performing it, you would learn again, you would listen again, you were exposed again and again and again. That's why I spent the whole hour commuting. I spent learning, just repeating, learning the short stories. So her style was brilliant. I mean, she hardly taught us anything, but she did, because she made us speak all the time. Like, there was no chance you wouldn't be asked to do some part of the homework in front of the class. Yeah. There was no chance. I mean, it was a class of 15 people, and we had a whole hour to burn. So there was no way. So we were forced to speak. We were forced to speak up in front of the class, which was like additional level of stress. But it was intentional, because we're preparing for the exam. If you're at an exam, you're there. And because the stories were short, the dialogues were short but very good, you would learn by heart the phrases, the responses, the questions. So when the exam comes, you know what to. You start responding instinctively. You don't respond like by building a sentence from scratch. You know the response. You know the what should be said, and that's why it was strange learning this way, but it was brilliant on the other hand, because she knew what was our objective, and she knew that she has to strengthen our speaking ability, our comprehension ability, and the repetitiveness. So the way that everything we keep repeating, we keep being exposed to the same phrases over and over again. So that was her style, and it was brilliantly. I mean, out of the 15 people that we were there in this group, I think 10 or 12 got in to the special English class in the high school. So, like, she was really effective.
Wow. All right. So we've run out of time, but we still have to discuss how you learned Spanish. We have to discuss my progress learning Spanish and your progress learning French, and Duolingo, and the matter of developing